we finally, the board finally approved the Sangha Sutra, which lays out a number of things. But one thing it lays out is how the shared leadership and circles work at Sweetwater Zen Center. This is something we've been working on since we first arrived, which was over 20 years ago, which was in 2000. Echo was there then, and he's here now. But we start talking about shared leadership and how to have a circular, horizontal aspect to how the Zen Center works. And actually, the circle, it is not something that we invented. The circular nature of practice has always been part of the teachings. The lineage, which is, of course, very vertical, it's first the past seven Buddhas, then Buddha, then Mahakashapa, then Ananda, on down to me is the lineage. In our lineage, I have the distinction of being the first female lineage holder in name. I mean, I'm certain many of those were women in our lineage. I'm certain of that. But at any rate, it's a vertical. But the thing is, if you do have Jukai, if you do like make an official statement of your intention to practice, you write the lineage chart as part of the Jukai and the Jukai classes. And at my name, there's a red line that goes back to the past seven Buddhas. So the lineage is actually a circle because we're all here all the time. So the circle also is in Japanese. The ensui is in Japan and maybe China. I think China too. Yeah, the circle is there's one koan. Someone says, "What is Buddha?" or something like that. I didn't look it up. I didn't know I was going to talk about it. And the disciple, the student, makes that circle, and then there's a bunch of chatter about that circle. But that circle represents oneness, which is true nature. So anyway, in looking at the other reason for working on circular is just because, as we all know, the harm that the patriarchal system has caused. It's I'm not a historian, but as I understand it, before the patriarchy, it was a matriarchal system, which was circular. But anyway, we're all seeing that kind of power descript. Someone's the boss, someone's in power. It just hasn't worked very well for us, and it makes more sense that we share. It's tough on the leader. It's a lot of stress for the leader, and it's tough on the people that are being led. They're getting yelled at all the time and have to do what they don't want to do. So the circular structure is one that we're looking at to just get rid of that vertical structure and just be circular. That's not the vision that we had for Zen Center. It's to have both. There is a teacher There is a teacher, there are students, there is a board president, there are positions of more power than others in our structure. And at the same time, there's shared leadership that, for instance, the board is seen as a circle, and everybody on the board has power in how the Zen Center is run. So anyway, the circular structure that we came up with, and it was, this is mostly my vision, but Choa and Echo were also part of the group that worked on putting this together. I based it on the three treasures. Most some of the peacemaker organizations have used the five families, which is kind of an expansion of the three treasures, and I'll talk about that. But to me, what worked was the three treasures. So what are the three treasures is what this talk is supposed to be about, or an introduction to. We'll be doing this workshop, and I'll go into it more then. But the three treasures are Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And it's part of the teachings of, I think, every Buddhist group. That's why Helen Turcoff called tricycle is a reference to the three treasures, which is a reference to Buddhism. And I sent out this talk by Bernie, which is just brilliant, and he did it. Well, to me, it's brilliant. And he did it right after he received transmission. This was December 3rd, 1977, and I was there. That was the Jukai class before I had Jukai. So I remember this talk. But he starts it off by saying, when we say in the Jukai ceremony, when we say Namuji Butsu Namuji Ho Namuji Po So, we're saying be one with Buddha, be one with Dharma, be one with Sangha. But then another interesting thing is the Gate of Sweet Nectar, which we chant every Sunday. We just finished chanting it. The first part has Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, which means take refuge in the Buddha. And Dhammam Saranam Gacchami means take refuge in the Dharma. And Sangham Saranam Gacchami means take refuge in the Sangha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, three treasures. This is take refuge. And then Jukai says be, and Bernie, who was called Tetsugen at the time, Tetsugen Sensei, says it has to be Buddha, be Dharma, be Sangha, because in fact, that's what you are. The three treasures. And we suffer because we don't realize that. So the take refuge, which is the language, which is how this is translated oftentimes in Buddhist groups. So I'm taking refuge in the three treasures when I have Jukai. And it kind of has this feeling like I'm going into a little house and shutting the door and getting my book. Not having anything to do with the world anymore. Anyway, I think maybe Bernie would disagree with the word refuge too, at least in the sense that we usually mean it. I'm going to go hide under my blanket. Take refuge means be who I am, which is Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. That is an expression of my true nature. And just every once in a while, and we do it every day, in the morning, we take when we put on the Buddha's robes, we take refuge in the Buddha's robes, which is taking refuge in true self. And it doesn't have to be Buddha's. It can be Christ, it can be Yahweh, it can be whatever that oneness, whatever word you use for the totality of our life with everything, which is Buddha. That's what Buddha means. Bernie says, Buddha, this is the one body, three treasures. We are one body. Buddha is Vairochana Buddha, Dharmakaya, the world of emptiness, the state of equality, the state of oneness. Bernie and I always disagreed about the use of the word state. I don't like it. Because to me, it's like I'm going into some other state rather than my life. So it's like what happens when I take LSD. I'm going somewhere other than my life, or have a drink, or for me, have a candy bar. Oh man, there's nothing like a candy bar. So I don't like the use of the word state, to go into a different state. It's this right here, with our disappointment, with our struggle, with all the suffering of the world, is Buddha. This is Buddha. And the nature of Buddha is empty, no self. I made up self. I made up this self through years and years and years of collecting karma. And I talked about that last time, about the dream is my made up self. So Buddha is no self, no made up self, just this. And so really that's all you need to say. And that's what Bernie says in this, which was a koan for me for a long time. Why do we talk about all this other stuff? Because all we need to do is realize oneness, have that experience of Jeju Sanmai Samadhi, which I finally learned. Roshi always called it self-fulfilled joyous samadhi. And I finally learned the translation is really self-samadhi. Just this, like we say, true self. Sometimes it's joyful, but sometimes it's just this. So anyway, the thinking, all I have to do is see that, see into the emptiness, and that's it. But it's really not enough. There's many aspects to that no self that we study in Zen practice. And that's why we have three treasures. So the Dharma is all phenomena, Bernie says, all phenomena. The differences, we call it the wisdom. So to me, the way the three treasures and the five families work is true self is empty. And then out of that emptiness comes wisdom and compassion are like the first two. And this Dharma is the wisdom, which is everything, including the suffering, including the joy, including you and me, that we're different. We have different rules about each other. When you're 75, you get to sit around and not remember anybody's name. I have forgotten everyone's name now. It is amazing. When you're young, you get to work really hard and build things. There's differences, and that's wonderful. That's the Dharma, the Dharma treasure, all of the things, the trees, the flowers, the dogs, all the things. And then the Sangha is the intertwining of equality and differences. The harmony of Buddha and Dharma is the Sangha, which is our life. We talk about relative and absolute, where absolute is the Buddha treasure, relative is the Dharma treasure. But like the Sandokai, the identity of relative and absolute, Maizumi Roshi always said that term identity is actually the interpenetration of relative and absolute, perfectly interpenetrated. That all the differences are oneness, the oneness is all the differences. And sometimes they say they're like two, like gasho, relative absolute, meaning together in harmony. So the Sangha is the harmony. So for our structure, Sweetwater Zen Center structure, we looked at Buddha treasure at Sweetwater Zen Center are the training, the aspects of training, the events circle, which are the folks that make all the events happen, including today. And Kosei is the steward of that circle. And many of you are on it. I'm not going to say names because I can't remember who else is on it. But every wonderful event that happens at the Zen Center is coming out of that circle, and is the intentionality is the training and teaching in no self, in oneness. But now every time I say oneness, I said to one of my friends I said everything's one, and she said, "Oh, that's so trite." And it's true. It's true, it is. But isn't there some sense to the fact that trite things are true things? I don't know, that's my defense. The truth is we can't say it. If we say it, it sounds trite or it sounds like an idea. That's our practice, is to experience whatever that is. And then you might want to call it oneness, you might want to call it God, you might want to call it spirit, Jesus on my samadhi. But the point is to experience that. And so the event circle is to provide opportunities to experience the oneness of all things and the harmony of all things. And the Chidan that takes care of the altars, and the that does the service, and the circle takes care of the service, which thanks so much. I forgot to mention that we've got 3 folks off in Japan now. I'm sure their eyes are bulging out of their heads watching how they do service there. They'll be experiencing 2 things. One will be, that's just how we do it. That's just how we do it. And the other one is, this is so not like how we do it. Because it's huge. AG is huge. And many, many months participating in service. Because all the temples send their folks to AG to be trained. So anyway, the I don't have a list of circles. I can't say all of them. We'll go into it more in the workshop. But then for the Dharma side, the differences, the wisdom side, and here's the wonderful thing about the circles is they do interpenetrate each other. And that was like kind of driving me crazy because I think I was trying to get all the circles to be like a Venn diagram where they interpenetrate and where they don't, and how that all works. And the fact is they all do. So for instance, the events circle, some of the events are wisdom circles because they're like the workshop on circles, whereas seshing is pretty much a Buddha activity. So they're interpenetrating. So anyway, the head circle, so there is a vertical structure. The head circle of the Buddha is the abbot or the leadership circle, that the abbot holds the vision of the Zen center, the vision being the training and practice of Zen teaching. And there's other aspects of the vision too. We're going to renew it, but can be aspects like ecology and things like that. But the abbot circle is in charge of the overall charge of the training, or the Buddhist circles. And then the Dharma circle, the head of the Dharma line is the board. And it has to do with the buildings and grounds. And so we have buildings and grounds circles, and you see what a fantastic job they're doing, our beautiful buildings and grounds, and also keeping the lights on, the plumbing working, all of the different aspects of actually running the Zen Center, the fundraising circle, the financials, and again, I can't remember all of them. And then the Sangha circle is the harmony of all of those circles and recognizing how harmonious they are. And I kind of think the council circle should maybe be part of the Sangha circle, should be considered a Sangha circle. There's also an elder circle, which is only called when there's problems at the Zen Center. So all of this is about how to live together harmoniously and how to have our structure and our policies and all of that to be harmonious. Another of the wisdom circles or the Dharma circles is the circle for residents, and the what is it, some kind of gate, I always forget the name. See, I told you I forget everything now. But the circle that helps residents come into the community and establishes the guidelines for living in community, and also enforces those guidelines. So in a way, the Here circle, which is the one that listens to disputes, or if there's a problem, the Here circle, that's probably a Sangha circle. And then the elders, so the Here circle, which more information is coming out on them, is they're people who are available if you just want to talk about something that's not working for you and you don't feel comfortable talking directly. Obviously, talk directly. If you can, maybe get a third person to help you talk about it. And then you can talk to a Here person about something that's not working. And it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's just, this isn't working for me. How can I figure this out? And then the Here circle can do agreements if it continues to be a big deal. And then the elder circle is if there's a disagreement between the board and the abbot. And my example is like the board decides, well, if we had a bar during session, we'd probably make a lot of money. And the abbot says, no, no bar. If they can't reach an agreement, then an elder circle is convened from other members of the White Plum. And that's for extreme cases because like I'm the abbot and Nigel is the board president and we work together very well. But we do work together. The board can tell the abbot they can't do something. Like the abbot decides, let's open up another center in Imperial Beach. The board can say, no, we don't have the money for that. So generally that works fine. But if it doesn't, if there's something that agreement can't be reached on, then the elders board can be called to resolve that. For instance, if the abbot has you know, done something very wrong, has abused their power in a way that's harmful to the Sangha and can't be resolved through the board and through the here, then that would be a time for the elder circle to be called to decide. Maybe the abbot can't be abbot anymore. And hopefully that's the case we're not going to experience. The whole idea, plan, vision is because we're sharing the leadership, because we're talking to each other, because we do counsel, because we talk to each other about things, that we can avoid having something really disruptive to our harmony. So that's it for an introduction to the Sangha Sutra, shared leadership. Really looking forward to any questions, comments, corrections.